As always, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I have the requisite flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone had a good summer. Certainly a lot going on in some folks' lives. It is frankly amazing how quickly the summer went, given that we were on double secret probation, lockdown, etc. But hopefully we're seeing our way out of this, and we'll get back to a normal instead of a new normal. I don't see any other visitors signed in. I assume if anyone had called in, I would see them. Do we have any visitors on the line? I don't see anybody, so we'll just continue. Want this to be as expeditious as possible because I'm sitting where my wife would normally be watching the Celtics game, which is starting any minute. So she's going to be giving me the hairy eye for as long as I'm sitting out here. I believe that I forwarded the May meeting minutes that Pam had put together. I hope everyone got them. I see some nods.
Yep.
Any questions, concerns, comments about the minutes? I think it was Christy and Mike's first meeting. So, and we were on Zoom at the time. So any questions, concerns, comments about the meeting minutes?
No.
Hearing none.
No.
Motion to accept them as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Hearing none, the motion carries. The agenda that I set out is, kind of a little bit out of order, but it's probably appropriate at the time. I'll act as secretary tonight. I'll take the minutes and get the minutes out. As I believe I've shared, Pan and Dawn are moving from town. They're going to be moving up to Brooksby when they get everything set. Unfortunately, Dawn fell and broke his arm, so he's in a rehab right now. So as soon as they see themselves clear with that, I believe they intend to list the house. They've already engaged a realtor, so hopefully that goes smoothly for them. And we certainly wish them luck. And one of the things that I'll do is I'll get a letter crafted and send that off to them, thanking them for their service to the board and the town in general. I think that they were on the board before I joined, but I'm not certain. So, a few years ago, when things were being tightened up around town, we had a visit from the town council, Mr. Mullen, apprising us of the fact that we, like all boards in town, need to comply with open meeting regulations, etc. So we certainly started doing that. And one of the things that we did at the time is we chose a chairperson and a secretary. Pam volunteered to be the secretary, and I was chosen to be the chairperson. I think it's kind of appropriate that we talk about what kind of officers, if we want to have as a board, what kind of term limits we should have on the board. I'm a member of an organization over in Saugus where they have a chairperson for life, a little bit by choice and a little bit by default. I'm not sure that that's appropriate. I think that we certainly have enough talent and expertise on this board that we should certainly share the wealth, if not the burden. So what I was thinking is that, we may want to consider having a chairperson, a vice chair, secretary. I don't think we need treasurers because we don't have funds. I don't think necessarily we need a sergeant at arms, but I'll leave it open for discussion. This isn't my world, and welcome to it. I'm certainly more than willing to entertain any other thoughts. And if we can come out of tonight's meeting with an agreement, great. If not, we'll move forward because it's certainly not a gating item for anything that we do. So I'd appreciate any thoughts on that anyone may have.
Those three roles seem appropriate to me, and I don't think we need more than that, but so I think I agree with you, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we have an exhaustive project list where we have project managers, et cetera, et cetera. We have a finite, kind of finite workload that, ebbs and flows with the seasons. Certainly open to entertaining more. So, anyone have any other thoughts? Chair, vice chair, secretary, anything else? All right. I don't know.
I don't think we should call it secretary. I think it's clerk, right?
Okay.
I just don't want to
Yep.
give it a biased gender feel.
Fine. Yep. Yeah, I'm certainly always willing to learn these new terms, etc. I'm sure that the Sisters of St. Joseph are kind of rolling in their graves thinking that single people are now referred to as them, they, etc. It's all good, and I'm certainly trying to come up to speed. My daughters are certainly helping me. So,
Just to be clear, I was not accusing you of being offensive in any.
No.
Not at all.
and believe me, it wouldn't be the first time today. If I don't know whether we need to move that for a vote to say, we have a motion on the floor that the board heretofore will have a chairman, vice chairman, and a clerk of the board. That certainly seems appropriate to me. I will make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second,
All
yeah.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. So we'll have a chair, vice chair, and clerk going forward. Now,
At arms?
I'm sorry, Dan.
Could I be sergeant at arms or just call me the enforcer?
Yeah. Dan, you're the man.
Yeah, you don't even get away with that in your own home, so let alone here. Lois is the boss. We all know that. Okay, so that passes. Do we have anyone interested in pursuing any one of those positions moving forward?
Jay, do you think we need to draft up a little description and then let people think about it and then put their names forward?
We could certainly do that and then vote on it in October. I'm fine with that. Now, as you saw, I kind of messed up all the email stuff. So whenever we're exchanging emails that pertain to board business, we need to include that veteran veterans.advisoryboard@wakefield.ma.us email address on it. Okay? So that's, again, transparency, open meeting law, et cetera. Is over the years, I'm sure if you get the Wakefield Daily Item, you've seen a number of boards that have been taken to task for running afoul of the open meeting law. We certainly don't want to do that. So so for instance, let's say by the end of, do you think it's fair that by the end of September, we share any thoughts among the board members of what we think that those job descriptions should contain? We'll share them among the board members. Feel free, anyone and everybody, to do some wordsmithing. But whenever you share them with members of the board, we need to include that Veterans Advisory Board email address, okay?
Roger that.
So let's take that as an action. Over the next few weeks, we're going to try to craft some job descriptions, et cetera, for what those three positions may entail. And we can vote on them and perhaps elect/fill those positions in October. Sound reasonable?
Sounds good.
Dan, do you have something?
Two other important things: that anybody that was appointed to the Veterans Advisory Board, make sure they were sworn in by the town clerk, and that, they wrote in the book.
Nick and Christie, have you done that?
Yes, I have.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Did I get reappointed? Did that happen? Do I need to go back down there? I wonder if I do.
Do you have to go back when you're reappointed?
No, your term runs till April of 23, Rob, so you should be good.
But
I think you just swear in once. And
okay,
I think when you're reappointed, you don't have to swear in again.
excellent. Okay.
At least I've only taken the oath once.
Okay.
That's a
Thank
good
you.
point. Thank you, Dan.
And also, the ethics certificate, every 2 years, you have to fill that out. It's done online. I don't know if anybody's done that. So.
Yeah,
Those are-
conflict of interest and ethics comes out from the Commonwealth.
Yep.
Does Sherry or anybody else in town help manage when those things are due by the different board members, or?
I will reach out to Sherry to get clarification on the frequency and how they are put forth. I know as
2 years.
part of my VSO position, I get it pushed to me from the city of Melrose. So I'm assuming that maybe it comes from the town, but I will clarify that with Sherry.
I don't think that goes by appointments. I think it's every 2 years that you're on any appointed board.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's automatically pushed or how that is done, but I'll clarify that with Sherry. Okay? All right, thank you for that. Now let's, go back to Memorial Day. That was kind of the beginning of our new normal. I certainly want to thank everybody that took part in the wreath laying at the World War II Memorial. This past Memorial Day was the first time that the Legion really wasn't involved in the Memorial Day ceremony, so to speak, and or the wreaths. We buy 13 of those eucalyptus leaf wreaths. They get put on various monuments around town and at the cemetery. World War II Memorial, Women's Memorial, the Greenwood School, and a number of them at Forest Glade Cemetery. Now, this is a carryover from when the Legion used to order them, but the towns and cities pay for them. they did come with banners on them for the VFW, for the Legion Post. And I'm sorry, there's the Gold Star wreath also. You know, I'm not wedded to the number. You know, we certainly have time to think about this. And we can discuss it in more detail as we get into next year, because it, basically only takes a few weeks to get the wreaths, et cetera, put together. So just keep that in mind. Like, for instance, if you think there's a place in town that did not get one of those eucalyptus wreaths on the stand that you think should have gotten one, we can certainly bring that forth as we're planning for next year. I certainly hope that next year we're able to have a more public ceremony. At the Galvin Middle School, as we have grown accustomed. Did anyone see anything or hear anything, et cetera, about this past Memorial Day that we did that we need to rethink or, do differently for next year? Certainly, hopefully next year we're back to normal, but did anything that we outright need to change or drop for next year?
I'm looking at, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I was thinking about the Jewish temple across the street here with the USS Dorchester and maybe placing a wreath there. I put a flag there last year. And
Again, we can certainly keep that in mind, because there are, one of the things that, the American Legion was supposed to do, and Melinda's son and friends helped the Legion catalog some of the memorials in town. So I don't know whether they found some in addition to the Three Chaplains Memorial that we need to consider for next year. To be honest, I don't know how expensive those eucalyptus wreaths are. I haven't seen the bill because none were placed in Saugus. David, I don't know if you saw any for Wakefield. Or if I think of it, I'll ask Karen Burke tomorrow when we get together for the food market, what the damage was. We did the wreath laying at Forest Glade and Lakeside. Out of the goodness of the people's heart, a lot of folks showed up to volunteer. We did have a bit of a contest down at Forest Glade about where flags should be placed, etc. Everyone wants to be the boss, but I thought, I think it speaks to the power of the people of Wakefield that even though we didn't publicize the event, people still showed up. And it got done in good form. They still look good. I went by this weekend and checked on a lot of them. A lot of the eucalyptus wreaths are still there. The Gold Star wreath is still there. A lot of the flags are still there, looking good. I think that for as abnormal as it was, I thought Memorial Day went very well. And once again, I appreciate folks coming down to the World War II Memorial and being able to publicize that socially distanced on Facebook, etc. Now, speaking of Facebook, one of the things that I think is on our honey-do list is getting the Facebook for the group and veteran services up to speed. There's a very, very talented young lady that works down at Town Hall who's been helping with websites. So I'm sure that we can press her into service also. So we'll put that on the list for future discussion. Anything else on Memorial Day? Okay. Wreaths across America. In some towns, wreaths across America kicked off in some communities on September 11th. Some communities that I've seen are referring it to the 100 days of wreaths or 100 days of flags. We were more involved than ever, I think, last year in the Wreaths Across America project here in Wakefield. It was led by Dennis Fazio, who's the cemetery and parks director for the town. When I went across on the Wreaths of America website and I look for Forest Glade Cemetery, it doesn't come up. Dennis told me that they still have him on as the local coordinator. So given that, I don't know why it doesn't show on the Wreaths website. I was communicating with the folks from Wreaths Across America on Monday. And I communicated with Mr. Fazio also yesterday. He certainly appreciates anything that this board can do and wants to do as far as coming up with a good count for wreaths. Because as you may remember, we believe that we got 400 wreaths sponsored last year, but 374 showed up. And when I asked Wreaths Across America why, no answer was forthcoming. Their performance to date has been less than stellar, but we'll help them help us. So I guess one of the things that we need to decide is how much does this board want to be actively involved? Does this board want to serve as the local coordinator, which involves some paperwork and getting approved by Wreaths Across America? Or do we want Mr. Fazio to continue to serve in that function and we will just support him? And do we want to choose a quote unquote project leader from this board to shepherd this endeavor? Because, things were kind of, Dan was doing stuff, I was doing stuff, some town councilors were doing stuff. We didn't have a coordinated Wakefield effort. We were certainly more successful than we ever had been. But like I said, it just felt a little discombobulated at times. So I guess the first question is, does this board want to be involved? Discussion.
Yes, I believe we should be. I remember last year on Veterans Day, Dan, I think it was you that had the pamphlets to be given out at the Galvin.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was a tremendous input, I believe. And also, I think the item ran an ad for us where folks just ran a direct access right to Wreaths Across America using Wakefield and the cemetery.
And again, that was Dan did stuff, I did stuff. We didn't use some of the media that's available on the Wreaths Across America website. I mean, the piece that Dan put together was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some boilerplate pamphlets, et cetera, that Wreaths Across America has that we can take advantage of. So,
Do you guys know Ann Hadley in town?
yes.
We could maybe utilize her for anything.
Her,
Putting together ads, pictures, promoting, marketing.
well, I mean, she has a PR company, and she does work for the Scholarship Foundation. I don't know. We could certainly reach out to her.
The reason why I just know her personally, her daughter Leah was my sister's best friend, so
Yeah.
I know her personally, and she would probably do anything that we ask to help the community.
Yeah.
It's just
So
another
I think that,
resource.
yeah, if it's something that we do want to move forward with, and certainly has a lot more technical expertise than I do. I know the work that she does for the Scholarship Foundation in
Yeah.
Wakefield is awesome.
Yeah,
She put together collateral, et cetera. So that's certainly something that's worth pursuing.
okay.
So, Dan,
I would kind of be against it, surprisingly, for the reason that I don't think Veterans Day coming up this year is going to be at the Galvin on the stage. I think it's going to be something, a Zoom type thing. I don't know if we can get the same response as we got last year. Now, last year, I know where about 200 of those wreaths came from, and whether we can get those again from the same people, I doubt it. So it's going to be a hard thing to promote, I think, this coming year.
well, I would respectfully disagree. That's why I want to get started sooner rather than later and try to have a more coordinated effort. And if we start in September instead of November, we've already got a month and a half lead time. And as you may recall, two of the town councilors put together a little road race on Thanksgiving that, I'm not sure whether they're going to have it given the pandemic, et cetera. But, believe me, this is not my world and welcome to it. If the board doesn't want to do it, that's fine. But, 2 years ago, we had absolutely no publicity that I can recall, and we did okay. Last year, we had more publicity, and we knocked it out of the park. So
If we don't do it, who else will?
there you go. The first year that I was involved, kind of, sort of, I knew it was going on. I saw something on the Wreaths Across America website. I reached out at town hall around town. I couldn't get anyone to say I'm doing it. We went down there and there were 2 boxes of wreaths, 10 wreaths. So we've gone from 10 to over 300 in 2 years.
And there's going to be more veterans buried there at the cemetery now. I don't know how many more Dennis had interned this year, but I'm willing to bet it's a good 50 to 100.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to do this, that's part of the puzzle. Because not only did we put wreaths at Forest Glade, Mr. Fazio went down to what?
Lakeside.
No, what's the thing at the corner of Salem and Lowell Street that sells the mulch and stuff like that? Wild
Willow
Rose,
Tree?
the guy's name. Wildflowers, is it?
Willow Tree.
Willow Tree, boom. He had to go down there and obtain more wreaths for other memorials, et cetera, that didn't get covered and should have been with the money that we sent in. So, part of it is scoping it out, understanding exactly how many wreaths we're going to need as of a given date, finding out what the drop dead date for determining the wreaths are, et cetera. So I guess we need to step back and figure out, is this something that this board wants to get involved with?
I think something to do with the missing wreaths was, I think that was, the figure was taken about 4 years ago. I think it was 374. I think what we, last year, we hit our goal of 400 and had something like 420 something. Where those wreaths went, I don't know.
Well,
But I
that's
think from 4 years ago.
well, as I said earlier, I asked Wreaths Across America why the wreaths didn't come here, and I got no answer. So, again, part of it, I think, is a function of a little bit of a lack of control as you know, Mr. Fazio has two full-time jobs. And, you know, if this board wants to be involved, we can be more involved and do a lot of the administrative work, publicity, etc., and feed the numbers to Mr. Fazio. Or we can take over total control and be the local coordinator. Okay? So, do we want to do it? Melinda,
Do it.
Yeah, I think we should.
we want to
I
vote?
think we should be the local coordinator. So
Yeah, I
we
agree.
have ultimate
You-
control and it would be better for publicity as well,
Keeping Dennis involved, of course, for numbers.
Oh, absolutely. When I spoke with him on Monday, I made it abundantly clear that we do not want to infringe on anything that he wants to do, if you know what I mean. This is no knock on him at all. I think he would be glad to be free of some of the administrative burden that there may be, still to be determined what the amount of that is. You know, if we want to do it and we want to be the local coordinator, I will call him tomorrow and tell him so. Because if we want to do that, Wreaths Across America needs to take him off the list as the local coordinator, and we need to apply to be the local coordinator. Okay? And I think it's a one-page form.
Should we vote? I mean, do we vote on that?
Anyone want to make a motion that, do we want a motion, number one, do we want to do it? Is that a separate motion from, yes, we want to do it and we want to be the local coordinator? Are they two separate motions? Is it one motion?
One motion.
All right,
It-
I
it
make a
ties
motion. Oh, go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
It ties in the two.
All right, so
Sounds good.
does anyone want to make a motion?
I make a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion that the Wakefield Veterans Advisory Board serves as the local coordinator for Wreaths Across America.
Yep.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous. So I made the motion and Rob seconded. All right, I'll reach out to Mr. Fazio after the Veterans Food Market tomorrow, and we'll just go from there. For the good of the group, Rob, Mick, and Christie, do you understand what the Veterans Food Market is?
No.
Okay.
No.
On the third Wednesday of every month, which is tomorrow, we have a food market where we get food from the Greater Boston Food Bank that gets delivered to the Melrose Memorial Hall, where local VSOs, volunteers, public works employees, etc., make bags of groceries for veterans, surviving spouses, dependents, etc. Really don't stand on formality given in these days. And the food comes, we divvy it up, and it goes back to the towns. That's what usually happens. Under the pandemic, some food has gone back to the towns to be delivered, but we're having a drive-through food pantry. They pull up in the driveway. I don't know if you know where Memorial Hall is. Melrose City Hall, Fire Department, Memorial Hall. There's a driveway. The clients pull in, give us their name, pull forward. We drop the food in their trunk, and they're gone. So as part of your normal activities, people say, what does the Veterans Advisory Board do? You can say, well, one of the things that Veterans Services does is we have this Veterans Food Pantry. Once a month, open to any and all veteran comers, etc. Okay, so I didn't want to throw terms out there that you may not be familiar with. And you're more than welcome also.
In Wakefield, they come to the senior center. There are 16 recipients that I called today, actually, to remind them, because every month I have to remind them. And they thank me for that. And they come between 9:30 and 11 o'clock. And actually, the Wakefield food pantry donates, and not going to do it until next month this time, dry goods such as deodorant, paper towels, shaving cream, and soaps. They come in bags, 16 bags for my 16 recipients.
You know, in Saugus, where I work, we have more clients in the food market than all of the other towns combined.
You sure do.
Melrose, Wakefield, Stoneham, North Andover, Boxford, all of them combined don't have the number of clients in the food market that Saugus does. We're going to have upwards of 92 people come tomorrow. And
Is that
Dave has
because you're better about getting the word out?
well, we do put, it's in the local newspaper, it's in the senior center news, and, you know, the numbers have gone up under the pandemic because people are talking and the need is greater. So feel free to pass that word if it ever comes up. Okay?
And they are, if they're going to be recipients of this this benefit, they have to contact the Veteran Service Office and get on the list. They just can't drive up and say, I'm a veteran. Well, actually, if they had a 214 and they needed food bad enough, I'm sure we'd give it to them. We'd find some way to give it to them.
Guaranteed there'll be people showing up tomorrow that just heard about it, but that's okay too.
Yeah.
You know, I want to segue real quick. There's a couple of other items that I didn't put on the agenda. One I wanted to, while we were talking about the cemetery, I wanted to follow up. As you recall, we had an Eagle Scout project where they cleaned the veterans' headstones down at Forest Glade Cemetery. They did an awesome job. And the young gentleman that has already received his Eagle, Ricky Nelson, had $110 left over from his fundraising activities. And he donated that to the Veterans Advisory Board. So I dropped a check off last Thursday at Town Hall. So it's all good. The other thing I wanted to touch on, Dave, you know, a little bit, you know, how are things at the office? One of the things that should be a part of every one of these meetings is a VSO report. How many clients you got, how are things doing, any things good, bad, or indifferent that you're seeing?
I have one right here, ready to go. Are you ready for the report?
Yep.
Okay. As for Chapter 115 client base, one is off the roster as of now, receiving aid and attendance pension, and will be a medical only at this point. The food bank client list is still at 16, and I've been calling the clients the day before, as I mentioned, to remind them. The Wakefield food pantry is starting next month. Like I said, we'll be delivering the non-perishable items. And one veteran who was homeless is now living with the Veterans Shelter in Boston. And although he did not have a DD 214, they're covering his status until it arrives from Missouri, which I've requested. I submitted the paperwork by both fax and by mail. He claimed he was other than honorably discharged. And for that reason, I can't give him any benefits right now at this point until we get the documentation. But VNOC up in Haverhill and in Boston, the SAVE program, they've going to hold him in there and give him housing until that paperwork comes in. I have one veteran in Wakefield having legal issues with his neighbors regarding the property line. And they've been at each other's throats now for about 2 years, I guess, and it's gotten worse. I did find him some legal assistance through VNOC, and he's hopefully going to get some resolution there. The high-risk team meeting in Wakefield, which I attend every month, notified me of this particular veteran's issues. And I called him, gave him all the information he needed to get his legal aid, and actually calmed him down considerably. He is a Vietnam veteran, so we have a lot in common, and we were communicating quite well. And that worked out good. And I was able to get the documentation for a deceased veteran's grave marker, completed the 1330 form, and submitted it to Dennis. It was a Navy veteran who was buried back in 2014. And they sent the paperwork in, and Quantico rejected it because on the paperwork they put in that he was a major in the Army, when in fact he was in the Navy as an E4 for 2 years active, but was 14 years in the reserves and became a major there. And so I resubmitted the new 214 to Quantico, along with a copy of the older one and an explanation of what took place. Dennis forwarded off yesterday. Some veterans are receiving documents from the VA after spouses passing, and they're not sure know what to do with it. I had two folks like that in the office this week. And I completed the forms for them, I uploaded them, and I sent them off to Boston. They were successfully received. I met with a spouse of a veteran who did not have a DD-214, is looking for financial assistance with burial costs. The veteran was 16 years, another one in the reserves, but the wife claimed he was active duty, but has no discharge documentation. Again, I have been very busy with Missouri these days, and I've been between faxing them over and emailing them both, which is a good idea, I was told, along with the right form, the 180 form. And I've requested that information, and I explained to her there's nothing we can do about burial assistance. And as a matter of fact, there was a Zoom meeting I attended today on that very subject, one of the three. And once the 214 comes in, I told her we'll be glad and excited to take care of helping her get her burial reimbursements. But that's it in Wakefield right now for the last month.
Awesome. Thank you. That nudges in my mind, one of the things that I want to put on the radar for future meetings is a tutorial on Chapter 115, so that we're not all just doing buzzword bingo. Dave and I are talking about things that y'all don't understand. So, we're not going to make you experts. We just want to make sure that all of us understand the benefits that can be obtained through the Veterans Services Office. Because one of the things that the town's website says is that we oversee the operations of the Veterans Service Office. That's not true, and we will work to get that changed. I made that clear when I appeared before the town council last year. Okay, thanks, Dave. Veterans Day. I reached out in Saugus today. All their ceremonies are outside, usually, unlike in Wakefield, where we are fortunate enough to have things in the Galvin. They're looking at, I believe the limit for gatherings are 25 people right now. Who knows what they'll be in November? We probably won't know. I'm assuming that maybe the data could change by the end of September. And then we have like 6 weeks to figure out what we want to do on Veterans Day. For those of you who may not be familiar, we usually have the choral society, the band, the musicians from the high school, etc. That's probably a non-starter. I'm sure that I could reach out to Mr. Bankert and get somebody to play taps. We've got time, but as I mentioned when we started, time is flying. So, probably by the beginning of October, we need to start um, conceptualizing some plans because our meeting in October will be like around the 15th or something like that. That's kind of cutting it close. So, we can do things offline via email, again, including that Veteran Service, Veterans Advisory Board email. Dave and I will keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on in both towns. One of the things that I did for Memorial Day is I filmed a little, 2-minute speech that the town manager in Saugus helped me put together. One of my former medical colleagues wondered whether I was having a stroke while I was filming it, but that's a different story. If you haven't seen it, feel free to look at it and you'll know why she asked that. I've heard from some towns, they're out looking for veterans to go down to the local community television station and film a couple minutes. Why, what's it mean to be me? What's it mean to me to be a veteran? Who I am, et cetera, et cetera. We have a pretty good relationship with WCAT. Actually, Barbara Worley has already reached out to me and Ryan Boyd. So if you think that that's something that we should pursue, I can work with WCAT, see if that's something that they'd be willing to do. Then we can advertise for veterans who might be interested. We could get the 5 guys on this call speak from a veteran's perspective. We could get the 2 non-veterans on the board to speak from what veterans mean to them. We could, just record a 2-minute vignette and then stream it throughout the day. They seem to be amenable
I was
to
going to
that.
actually,
I'm sorry?
I was actually going to ask, what about doing a ceremony kind of like church on TV, to have, you could have them film the choral society. If they do like the Boston Symphony, I don't know if they get on Zoom and all play. I don't know how they practice,
Yeah.
but I'm sure there are some creative things we could do. We could put together a short program and then have the testimonials like weaved throughout. I have a Marine in Woburn at my boxing gym that's amazing, and he could
Aren't
talk
they
for a
all?
full 5 minutes. You'd
Yeah.
have to edit him.
Yeah.
But he also trains some up and coming Marine recruits. So, it would be possible, sure, to get people to speak and then to create an interesting and creative program. I'm sure they're looking for content too.
Okay, I'll take the action to reach out to the Choral Society, Mr. Bankert, and WCAT to see, can the Choral Society, what are they doing? Does something like this appeal to them? Who knows? They may already be thinking about something like that. Mr. Bankert, how are the kids at the high school doing? What do you think about something like this? And I'll reach out to WCAT to see what they're thinking, see if they're looking for some content, and could they support folks going in to the studio onesie twosie to film, a few minutes that they put together. All right, I'll take
Or
the
even
action.
outside.
Hmm?
Do they have a roving camera? Like, can they film people outside if they're more
They
comfortable?
do. They went back
Yeah.
when we used to do the ceremonies at the Veterans Memorial Common, they would film it. And just like at the Galvin, they used to be live. So they do have, even if nothing else, a bunch of us could be back down at the World War II Memorial again on Veterans Day. And do a little something, have taps, whatever we think is appropriate. Okay?
My
Awesome.
son goes back to high school this week, so they might even have folks practicing in person. I don't know if the band,
Okay.
the choral.
Like I
Whether-
said, I'll reach out to them and see what their thoughts are. Is I'd rather, have these things, at least those aspects buttoned up in the next week or so we know whether it's even a possibility. If it's not a possibility, we do something smaller.
Weather permitting, though, at the Veterans Memorial site outside on Veterans Day would be ideal. Right there with the camera on from the WCAT.
Yeah, that's what we used to do before we got smart and we got the new Veterans Auditorium and went inside.
Yeah, we may have to resort to the other though now because we can't go inside.
Yeah, well, you never know.
You never know. You're right. Maybe it can still happen.
I went to a funeral where we were all socially distanced. And those of you that have been to the Veterans Day ceremony at the Galvin, unfortunately, we could socially distance
Yeah, that's
because it's not full.
We got election day coming up, so there's going to be people in that auditorium. Right out in the lobby.
Yeah, they go down to the gym. All right, again, I'll take an action on that to see if I can take a pulse from people, and then we'll go from there. Looks like we lost Christy, unless I did something that made her go away. Two things real quick that just popped into my mind. We have at least 2 applicants for the board. When Pam resigned, they put it in the paper. We got 2 applicants. One's a Gold Star mom, one's a veteran. And I was communicating with another non-veteran in town who said he may be interested too. The deadline was supposed to be Friday, and then the town council is going to vote. Supposedly, we're supposed to have some insight into who it is and have a chance to chat with them, just like we did with Mick. Okay? Anything else for the good of the group?
Can I ask you a question, Jed? The what time's that food thing going on at Melrose on the Wednesday? What time do you guys?
I'm usually there around 7:30 when the truck gets there. We offload the truck. The people come from 9:30 to 10:30.
Okay, gotcha.
we have everything packaged up though by 9:30.
Okay.
But the
I got to be back in Wakefield by 9 o'clock, so at 9:30. So
yeah, Dave's a sandbagger.
I am. I stand there by myself giving out the food.
Yeah. It's open to any and all veterans, surviving spouses, dependents. In this time of need, we're not standing on formality. Anything else for the good of the group? Dan?
Korean War veteran. Oh, did you want to say something?
Dan?
I'd just like to say one thing about Pam and Don Hart. I've been involved with them in a lot of different groups, veterans groups, over in Stoneham for HOTS, which we package probably 250 packages during Christmas. They've always been there. I've met them at the Stop and Shop collecting food packages for veterans. And I know Pam was up at the Jewish Temple last year, gave a talk on I guess it's 3 chaplains. They've been very good and very deserving people. And I'm just so sorry to see them leaving, but I hope they make up well. I believe in Peabody. Brooksby.
Yeah.
Good place.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you saw it on the front page of yesterday's item, was the coverage of the Korean Ambassador for Peace Medal that Dave was able to get for the members of the Scott family. So that was well done.
Yep.
And I've gotten a couple more since then. Now that it was in the paper,
Yeah.
I've got another Korean veteran that's going to be receiving, and I'm putting him in part tomorrow.
Okay, awesome.
There we go.
All right, well, thanks everybody for your time. I'll be in touch long as I don't mess up the emails again. I certainly appreciate all of your attention and everything that you do. And onward. Thanks a bunch. Enjoy the Celtics game or whatever else you have to do.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
Jay.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, everyone.